So, Raghav, welcome to this debriefing session and congratulations on scoring a 760.
Thank
Let's
you.
talk about your GMAT preparation. I mean, how did you go about it? You started with a 700. Let's walk me through it.
So, from the GMAT in which I scored 700, I gave that in month of April, second half of April. I started my preparation in first 10 days of March. So, I figured ki, on quant, I'll have to work a bit, but it won't be that difficult. And verbal is something that I have to work on, right? So I did my preliminary research of studying from the OGs and the guides that are available of other companies, and obviously I did the entire OG and the OG review for verbal and quant for that preparation. I think the mistake that I was making in that was in the way I was studying and preparing for GMAT, right? Obviously, being an IITian, I'm used to solving and approaching the problems in a certain way, because my entire journey of cracking IIT and then after using that strategy throughout my college was not which was relevant here, especially in verbal, if I talk about it, right? So I was focusing on the aspects such as I have to get the accuracy high and the speed high. However, when I used to do error analysis, I used to obviously forget or not, learn from, I would say, the mistakes I was doing previously, right?
Okay.
Right. And so even in my mocks, I was scoring a similar score of
700 in your mocks.
Yeah, 700, 710 on the GMAT official mock as well, right? So when I went for my exam, I was sort of prepared ki, okay, somehow I'm not scoring on my mocks, so maybe my GMAT, obviously it won't be a surprise if I get a 700. So obviously that was in line with my study. So I gave my GMAT, got a 700. I was obviously neutral about it since I was expecting a score around that range. Then I decided, okay, but obviously I know I can do better, right? And I got my weak point. Verbal was my weak point, and I have to improve on that. Did my research on which resources to use, because when it comes to verbal, we have our basics, right? I feel, but so for the way Indian education system is, it does not. So obviously, the Indian education system is all about studying something and then giving an exam, and then you move on, right? That's how it is. But in verbal, essentially the strategy that I changed in my second attempt, and that's why I used e-GMAT, was that how I could learn from each and every video lesson that was there, right? And use that strategy or a similar strategy to apply to all the questions I'm solving. Right.
I think the word that you use, apply, is a key word over here. You were drawing a parallel with the Indian education system, where predominantly the education system is you learn and you kind of, if it's a similar, if you get an exam which is on a very similar pattern, you do really well on it. But when it comes to applying those things in different contexts, then those things may not work to the same level of precision.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of where enhancing the ability to apply becomes really, really important.
Yeah. So obviously I used e-GMAT resources, and so if you do a research on internet or on GMAT Club, everyone really is, or rather I would say everyone agrees on the fact that e-GMAT SC course is amazing, right? So I obviously did my SC first, and I liked it so much in terms of the exact basics they were, the courses had, starting with a basic concept file to an application file, and how I apply it on each and every question. I think in a span of 1 week, I did the entire SC module.
Wow.
Right. And obviously I jumped onto this to practicing in the Scholarinium. Initially the accuracy was not that great, but I improved in terms of, okay, how I'm applying those concepts that I've learned. And one thing, the advantage of Scholarinium that I feel is in terms of I can choose, or rather I can schedule my own test. So obviously the the problem with verbal that I realized after my first attempt with me was that I used to do good on the first 10 questions, but after that, I used to start losing energy. So I realized that I have to work on being consistent in terms of, solving a particular type of question. So when I gave the scholarly names, I used to do like 20 questions in one go, right? Which obviously in the format of exam, that was advantage. And I think it's also very important that I was practicing on a computer and not through a book, right? So when you do it through a book, you somehow use a different mindset to approach the problem, right? And so that helped me. Then obviously I knew RC was another weak point that I had. So RC, I went through the courses and the basic questions that I had a problem in the main point file, and some of the other files. And I realized the strategies that you guys have suggested in the video lectures, it's absolutely amazing. Because so if I give you an example of RC and how it benefited me the most was the main point, right? The main point question, where it's written, and then obviously it's shown through examples where how the main point needs to represent the entire comprehension paragraph and not just one or two paragraphs. Right? So obviously that's easier said than done. To learn how to apply that concept, it took me a while. I had to solve a lot of main point questions for the same, but finally at the end of it, I did learn from it into the extent that I could easily solve such type of questions in the exam and in my mocks. Then obviously, since I was so impressed with SC and RC module, I was like, might as well give the CR module a go, because so CR I had used the Power Bible,
PowerScore Bible, yes.
PowerScore Bible, which was also very good. And CR, I think they had the strategies also right, and I was able to grasp those and apply those. But I still gave e-GMAT CR a try, and I remember in one day, sitting from morning to night, I completed the entire video lectures, right, for CR. And so some of the two strategies, the falsification strategy and the variation analysis, right? I think those stayed with me to the extent that even after my second attempt, and when I was preparing for my third attempt, I did not do the CR video lectures again, because I just, since they were time consuming, so I was like, fine, I just need to do these two strategies and I'll be able to solve most of the questions, and which worked. So in my second attempt, I gave my second attempt, there was a score, there was an improvement in my verbal score by 5 points. So from a V36, I went to a V41. And somehow I think it was just a bad day that I didn't do that well in quant and got a 720. And after my second attempt, for a minute, I was like, maybe that's it for me. But I think after 1 minute, I was fine. I was like, I can do much, much better in quant, and I have to give it a try. So in my third attempt, within a span of like 15 to 20 days, since, mid-July, I gave my second attempt. Then it was my it was birthday, and there was a lot of work stuff that was pending. So I decided to, not study for GMAT for 15 days. And from 1st or 2nd August, I resumed my GMAT studies. I hadn't taken a date. I was like, I'll take a date as and when I feel it's okay. So in my second, during that time, I revised my quant concepts and practiced some of the 700 level questions from Manhattan Advanced. And I think I did that for 1 week, and then 1 weekend that was there, which was I think 11th, 12th August weekend. I just focused 2 days to revise my concepts, verbal concepts, and I used the summaries that you've posted on GMAT Club, where all your articles have been collaborated in one particular order, in one thread. I just did that and used Scholarinium for just practicing and getting a feel of it. I did not do any. I took one mock and I scored a 760 on that. but obviously the mock had same questions that I had used since I used all my 6 mock tests in my second attempt. So it had similar questions. So I decided to not give any further mocks, and I was like, fine, I'll just go and give the exam. And I got a score of 760, because in my second attempt also, while I was giving all the GMAT mocks, I used to get a score of 750, 760, 770, right?
So it was just a bad day.
Yeah, so it was just a bad day, and that's why I decided, I have to give it again, and obviously it paid off.
So 2 things I think I like about this. I think the first thing, when you said that you realized that in verbal, after the first 10 questions, you weren't as consistent, and then you went on and used Coloranium and would do 20-question quizzes. I mean, I can draw a parallel to, I recently started doing CrossFit, and it's a very interesting way of working out. And in CrossFit, we actually do a 20-minute AMRAP towards the end. And then to do that, we actually build up our momentum towards it, so that in the AMRAP, we actually do a lot of repetitions. And you do stuff such as, you do 400 jump ropes in a single go. And so to make sure that the body is able to sustain that for the first 35 to 40 minutes, you would work out so that your body is warmed up enough and is essentially is able to sustain those 400 reps without being injured. And that's just kind of what you did with Scholaranium, where you said, okay, I'm going to do 20 questions. Like I was consistent for the first 10, but then I realized beyond that, my consistency goes down. So let me just see if I can get to that 20 question consistency level, 25 question, and so on and so forth. And the other piece, which is really, really good, is that that you did your learnings and focused learning interval, whether it was critical reasoning, which you did in a day, or reading comprehension, or sentence correction that you did in a week or so. I think that is really, really commendable. I think you took time out and really kind of focused on knocking it out of the park. So I think that's really good. Now, you did also, if I remember, you went through the Your Study Plan course as well, right? YSP course, the first one.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So,
yes.
So how did that help clarify your path towards that 760 score?
I obviously, when it comes to using that course, so one of the main reasons I took the e-GMAT course was because of SC. So I started with my SC, and since my SC improved considerably, and my I realized that video lectures are amazing. That's why I decided to do the CR and the RC section. Because if you see, I even sent, so before I bought the e-GMAT course, I had written to the team saying, is it possible for me to just buy the SC module?
Okay, yeah.
Right. And obviously the feedback was negative. So I ended up buying the entire GMAT verbal, which sort of helped because, the whole idea of doing multiple questions in one row, that comes into help, especially in case of RC, where you're reading and comprehension and you're doing such passages like 10 passages in a row, right? So by the 10th passage, you still need to maintain that concentration to grasp the main elements of the passage in
Raghav, you there?
Read,
yes.
Right? Which obviously yeah.
Sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. It was just for a brief moment, you went off.
Okay. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So I think let's kind of, I want to ask one other question, which is, you work in a startup, and so how did you take time out to study?
So surprisingly, in the first attempt, I took 10 days off, and I was focusing on this, and I think that somehow turned out not to be in my favor, because I was just stressing too much about it. In my second and third attempt, I remember I took one day off before the exam, because I just wanted to cool down a bit and give my mock if I want to give a mock. And if you see, I've always strategized my exams like either on a Monday or a Tuesday, or maximum a Wednesday, because I want to give it right after the weekend. So weekend gives me the time to take a mock on a Sunday, and then I can go and give my exam. So obviously, by when you say taking
So, I
out
mean,
the
how did
time,
you take time out to, so when would you study during the day? What time slot? How do you decide that?
3 hours at night, and I think that was sufficient for
Was
my
like a
weekday
fixed
study.
time slot that you had?
8 to 10, 10:30, and
Eight.
1 hour in the morning, like 7 to 8 a.m. That's it.
Okay. Did you kind of fix that time slot?
That
Right.
was the only time I could take out. So,
Okay.
so
Okay.
because during the day I was in the office the entire day,
Okay.
so that was the only time I could take out.
Are you a Delhiite?
Yeah,
Do you live at home?
yeah, I live at home.
So it kind of becomes slightly easier then.
No, as in I don't belong to Delhi. I belong to Panipat. So I'm living here and working in Delhi.
So are do you live with your parents or?
No, no, no.
Okay.
Flatmates.
Then it's not as easy then. Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. If you live with your parents, becomes easy. They take care of everything else, and
yeah,
you
yeah,
only
yeah,
have to
yeah.
worry about
Obviously,
studying and going to work.
that's true.
So they also shield you from everyone else.
Yeah,
So yeah. All right. So let's talk about your MBA. You're aiming for top schools, and you said you want to get a better understanding of the various functions, and you said marketing, management, finance, and so on and so forth.
yeah.
So which is, if I were, well, I shouldn't ask this question. Let me stop